Hello, hello, hello to everybody out there. This is the Essex Birdwatching Society YouTube channel, and we're here for our Birds of Essex November edition. How you doing, guys?
Good, thank you. How you doing? Nice to see you both.
Yeah, all good.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Well,
big night tonight. Big competition, Matt.
Yeah, we've got some exciting stuff coming up. So we've got a photography competition that we've been running. It's a new kind of seasonal format. So this has been the autumn comp. It's been running since the beginning of September. The final is coming to a conclusion in about half an hour. So for anyone that hasn't voted yet, we'll tell you how to vote in just a minute.
Great stuff. We've also got a digiscoping feature using phones and cameras. So if you know anybody who might be interested in that, text them quick and tell them we're on. And then, Steve, you're doing something later on ID, aren't you? Bird ID?
So, as you might have noticed, winter is now upon us. You haven't, where have you been? And yeah, I'm doing a feature on grey goose identification.
Oh,
excellent. So we got a great show tonight. We had a great one last time. I think 150 people or so have watched David Lowe and his Brent Geese, which was fascinating. So I highly recommend that. Yeah, it's been a good kind of month, hasn't it? Busy time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think things are starting to kind of come in finally. Certainly a place like Abberton. We're going to cover that later on. But I wanted to ask Steve, actually, your grey goose identification, is this anything to do with Christmas meal, maybe Christmas dinner? I don't know.
No, it's nothing to do with Christmas meal.
Oh, okay.
A brand of vodka, I believe, is a.
I was going to say, I'm not sure us as a birdwatching society should be going there, but I think it's supposed to be in short supply tonight.
Maybe we'll cut that bit.
Yeah, we'll edit that bit out. But, good. Hey, we had a go on.
I was going to say, back to the geese thing. We've had lots of great feedback from Dave about Dave Lowe's section last month. Yeah, so many people bumped into, loved his work on Brent geese.
Yeah.
Go on, Matt.
Sorry, I was going to say, I'll echo that. I've bumped into at least half a dozen people that have said the same thing. And I think what came through, and probably for all of us as well, is his passion. You know, he wasn't just giving a bit of information about something he knows something about. He was really, truly passionate about it all. And that really came across. So if he's watching or if he sees this, thank you again. It was
thanks, David. You're a legend. Great piece of work, that. And yeah, keep in touch. Let us know how things going. And I'd be interested to know if anybody, David said, if you're down at Leon C or follow him on Facebook, then he's more than willing to kind of help you out, point you in the right direction when you're looking at Brent Geese. If anybody has actually bumped into him or seen him and you're watching, then please let us know in the chat and feedback. And also we want to know where you've been and what you've seen, what's happening in your local patches, because we can't be everywhere. We get some feedback, but it's, really kind of we want the community to build and let us know what you see and what's happening, what's passing through, what's arriving. So how do people get in touch tonight, guys?
Okay, so basically you can email us if you wish to. We've got the email address, which hopefully you can see on the screen there, which is ebwstalks@gmail.com, and we'll be keeping an eye on that. And also, if you're logged into your YouTube account via Google, you should be able to talk in the chat, in the YouTube chat, and join in that way. And again, that's it's always good fun. Just put your questions in the chat and we'll answer them for you.
Yeah, brilliant. That's great. Good. So somebody asked, was it David G. Smith, about coot rafts? And we saw something like that about a year ago when we were last together at Abberton, I think. Huge, great. There must have been 1,000, maybe more coot, all in a huge raft at one end of the reservoir. Any thoughts on what's happening there and reasons why? And again, if anybody has any ideas out there or actually knows, has read papers on this, then please get in touch and put it in the chat.
You got that picture, Matt?
Yeah, I went to Abberton a couple of weeks ago, actually, and there was a very small coot raft, but they were nicely bunched together. So with David in mind, and hello, David, if you're watching, I kind of snapped a picture and just thought we could talk about it. And I think you've got a theory on this, haven't you, Steve?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% sure the reasoning behind it, but I think it's a bit like, if you're watching your starlings and they go into a really tight ball and you know there's a predator around, sparrowhawk maybe. And I think coots do very similar, especially at Abberton. It's quite renowned for great blackback gulls. They're quite partial to a coot, and also marsh harriers as well. A couple of marsh harriers around at Abberton that are quite fond of a nice coot, and so I think the coots gather together to make it difficult for the predators to catch them.
That makes sense. I've got a theory. Do you want to hear that? It's on food. Also on food, but slight with a variation. Rather than being food, I'm wondering whether it could be their feeding habits. I know from my fishing days that in wintertime, fish shoal together in particular areas of a lake, like a reservoir, because in the cold weather, like now, they'll go to the depths where the depths are warmer, whereas on sunny days, there'll be, warmer climate, particularly with a warm wind, they'll be in the windward area in the shallows. I'm imagining it's probably the same with the smaller cetaceans or whatever these birds feed on, whether there's plankton booms, probably not in a reservoir, but you know what I mean, these kind of microorganisms. And so I'm wondering whether there's a feeding type activity going that's related to an intensification of a food source in a particular area of the lake, or that they're stirring a food source off the bottom by their numbers. But again, maybe somebody can help us.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, actually, because I've just managed to dig out, I think that's a picture.
That was that time, wasn't it?
That's the one, that was from last year. Do you remember? Because they divided into two groups.
Yeah.
And I think, weren't they feeding on little sort of shellfish or sails or something of some kind?
They did seem to be diving, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
Okay. Blows my theory out of the water then.
No, well, maybe it's a bit of both, because if you can imagine, if you're a marsh harrier and you're flying over that just looks like two great big black blobs, doesn't it? So maybe you wouldn't go near it, and then maybe they're also feeding as well. Then maybe they do that in the places where there's food. This could be a two-pronged attack, couldn't it? So
it's interesting because we had a bird walk, didn't we? Kind of field trip, arrival field trip down at Thameside Nature Park and Raynham, Steve, and the avocet on that day were actually what we term rafting, where they were sat out on the River Thames, down off the mucking flats in the shallows, but they definitely were kind of swimming duck-like in a raft, and they do that off the high tide roost at East Tilbury as well. Now, that isn't a feeding behaviour. That, I think, is a security type premise, rather than them flying to a landward reserve, such as cliff or whatever. They find it in calm weather more secure to actually sit it out on the water. In up to 2,000, you can actually have in a raft like that, which is quite a spectacle.
Does look good, doesn't it? Just really briefly, sorry, I forgot to tell people how to vote for the photo comp, and I realised obviously 10 minutes has gone already, so it finishes in 20 minutes. Just really quickly, guys. It's on Twitter, so if I share this screen, hopefully you can see this. So if you go to the @EBwS tweets, these are the 4 finalist pictures. Can you see the big picture there?
Yeah, all nice.
They've got a Mediterranean gull.
Yeah.
Got an osprey. A buzzard, common buzzard.
Wow.
That's a
and
lovely shot.
A black-necked grebe just taking off. Now, just to give people a little bit of insight into this, we haven't randomly picked these. What happened is we had about 70 entries this time round, which was phenomenal. So a huge thank you to everyone who sent in a picture. From those 70, there are 4 of us 3, and Pete Dwyer, who's also on the exec committee for the Birdwatching Society.
Membership secretary.
Yes, he is, yeah. And between the 4 of us, we chose our favourite 10 pictures each independently. And then from that, we kind of generated a league table and worked out 16 quarterfinalists. And if you've been following the competition, there's been quarterfinals, semi-finals, and now the final. So those 4 pictures have kind of got their way through that whole process. So massive kudos to all those 4 pictures. And obviously we'll reveal the winner later on. There's Facebook voting as well, I think, isn't there, Steve?
Yeah, you can vote on Facebook. Yeah, it was, if you just comment on the post from about 2 days ago, I think it was 2 or 3 days ago.
Okay. I think I've got the Facebook page just here, just for anyone that wants to see it. So it's this post just here on Facebook.
Essex Birdwatching Society, isn't it?
Yep. And you can just make a comment to this, and we'll count those up shortly. I might go very quiet at 8:30 while I get my calculator out and do a bit of it.
That's fine.
It's been tight right the way through, but hats off to you, Matt, as well. And I'm sure all those that have been involved and have enjoyed looking at the pictures have appreciated Matt's work in putting that all together and administrating it, because it really has been quite a colossal effort to kind of keep it going. And Steve as well on Facebook. But thanks for thanks for your input. It's really it's great to see your pictures all taken in Essex, and it's phenomenal. Talking of which, one of the ones I thought was top 4 isn't there. I think that grey heron, I really like that one.
Get that up quickly while we're talking about it.
While Matt's putting it up, you'll be able to see all of the pictures all being well at the end if everything goes smoothly for our videos and things tonight. So hang in if you haven't seen them, or if you want to see them big screen. We've got end of the show.
We've got a few technical bits lined up tonight, so if it all goes wrong, then you'll have to bear with
it. Blame Zoom.
Right, so tell us about this one, Steve.
Yeah,
well, go on, Steve.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, we obviously had some like cracking entries. I mean, all of them were brilliant.
Yeah.
And obviously, they're all digital photographs, and some have been sort of, well, let's just say digitally enhanced. And this is one of them. I think this is from Steve Wilkinson. Cracking photograph, and obviously, what do you guys think about when you can tweak pictures to you
can these days, can't you? But to be honest, when I was looking at the pictures at the outset, and we were asked to kind of put together a top 10, was it top 10, Matt, you wanted?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
I kind of thought, what picture would I have liked to have taken? Because I did some photography type meetings a while ago, a number of years ago. So I got kind of the information of what the photographers look like, and they love a black background like that, or a blurred background. That's definitely photography kudos. So a picture like that, and the image standing out, I really like that. Now, I hadn't noticed, and I didn't look at that detail in terms of whether that's an artificially blacked out background. I'm guessing it is. I don't think there's a lot, most cameras adjust things for the light when you take the shot, but I don't think there's a lot done to the image that I can see. But I like that. I'd have that on my wall.
Yeah, I think it's for me. I mean, it's certainly it kind of jumped out when we were looking through, because it's different. Because it's obviously the background's been darkened, the contrast's been enhanced. The bird itself looks like it's been sharpened and enhanced, and it's got that grainy texture to it as well, which I think that's been applied post processing too. And interesting subject, because the last time that I was at Bird Fair, and that's something we're going to come on to shortly, there was I attended the Chris Packham Bird Photographer of the Year, which he does in the main tent, and they've actually now got a section purely for photographs that have been artistically manipulated, if you like. So it's a piece of art at the end of the day. I mean, any photograph to a degree, apart from the ones I take, can be considered as pieces of art. And I think if someone's then doing something with that photo, then yeah, why not?
Steve, can I ask you a question? When you're looking at the pictures, I think it'd be interesting. Well, not my glasses off. For people that are out there, particularly those that contribute photographs, what are you looking for in your pick? As I say, for me, it's what picture would I like to have taken myself? So there's a measure of rarity in that, and what about you? What's your thinking?
I mean, I'm starting. I'm looking at composition. You haven't got. There's always been that emphasis on full frame shots of the birds, but now it's nice to have some like habitat in the shot. Its environment is really nice. And again, it's one that I would like to have taken, like you said earlier. And I mean, the standard of photographers now is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt? Have you got any thoughts in terms of when you're looking at what appeals to you?
I think for me, it's a combination of not so much the species. It doesn't actually come into it at all. For me, because of the photography competition, I'm judging the photo in terms of the composition for definite, the way that the photo has been exposed, the way that the sharpness and the way the light's been used, Just little things like, is a shadow cast across the face of the bird? If a bird's on a branch or a bush, is there anything across the front of it? Is there a stray twig? And obviously we can't help that. But those are the things that if you're looking through 70 pictures, there's always they're the ones that kind of jump out of the page and just grab you. And to be fair, the first thing I did, I went through all 70 and I was kind of clicking through and I was writing down the numbers of the ones that grabbed me. And then from that list, I then tried to make a short list. And it took me quite a while to do, to be fair.
Right. If Pete Dwyer's watching, Pete, put in the chat, in the comment, what your criteria are, please, so then everybody knows. Not that we make the decision. Ultimately, if it's a draw, then we'll have to kind of call it. But it's everybody else out there, because everybody can vote on it, and that's what's happening. So make sure you get your vote in if you haven't already. So you talked about bird. Sorry, Steve, you're going to say something?
Lots of feedback on YouTube tonight.
I was going to say, who's watching and what they're saying.
Yeah, so we've got lots of people saying hello.
And if they haven't already, what do you think about the bird fair not happening at Rutland? If you know about that, without being too contentious.
So we've got hellos from Mel Shepherd Wells, from Brian Cox, from Mo Jackson, Richard Chew, King Cobra 66. I can't remember if we know who that is. Apologies if we do.
Yes, yeah, I think so, but I've forgotten the name.
Tim Hayward. Richard said, nice high tide winter wader roost on the MOD beach next to Shoebury Ness East Beach at the moment. There's Sanderling, Turnstone, Dunlin, Oystercatcher, all present in good numbers, plus Brent Geese offshore. He said the beach is out of bounds, but the birds can easily be watched and photographed through the metal boundary fence.
Yeah.
Mel has said that coot raft, is it possible they are flightless due to molting feathers like a lot of ducks?
Now that's a point. That's a point.
Well, a few of them were actually flying the other day in that raft off of Abberton, so they're certainly not all flightless, but it's a possibility. If anyone knows,
if they are in molt, it would definitely have a bearing upon their flight, wouldn't it? Whether they would want to fly and gather.
Yeah, no, definitely. And if they're like wildfowl, because they molt both wings at once, don't they? So they kind of go flightless for a while. So,
yeah.
We got King Cobra again, says, my daughter reckons the coot are banding together for warmth as it's getting a lot colder. Could that be a thing? Yeah, possibly.
Well, certainly water movement does actually kind of produce some warmth in their presence. Yeah, possible.
Tim Hayward said he likes your idea, Steve S. A couple of weeks ago, he was watching a raft of coots at Abberton and they seemed to be deliberately drifting, and he was chatting to another birder and we were speculating that perhaps they were following food. Yeah, could well be.
In a smaller pond, if there were a number gathered together, they could keep a section ice free, going back to what King Cobra's daughter said about the warmth. Keep a section ice free by movement.
Could be. And we've got birding royalty with us tonight. We've got Daryl Rhymes. Hello, Daryl. How you doing?
Daryl.
And Daryl said he agrees with the answers regarding coots. It's a feeding strategy, but also a means of predator evasion, akin to shoals of fish when being chased by sharks, etc.
Yeah.
It's worth noting that coot numbers at Abberton are declining quite fast. It's not known why yet, but it has been highlighted and it's being monitored. There's not as many there. Yeah. Same with Great Crested Grebes as well, I think, this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think this time last year there were hundreds out there, and this year, a relatively small number. So same for coots. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Tim's raised an interesting point. Sorry, we've got a lot of feedback. Tim said, is it the standard of photographers or is it the standard of kit that's now affordable? Again, I think probably a bit of both, because you can have a really good camera, you still got to know kind of how to use it. But I think the quality of the equipment has become a lot more affordable now for the decent stuff. So it's within a lot of people's budget. So I think the two go hand in hand, really.
I don't know about for you guys, but for me, it's, I used to only be able to take 36 pictures. So kind of in that, there was none that were any good. But if I take 336, I get one good one.
Yeah. And in fact, I needn't have said that answer because Paul Everett's just answered in the chat. He said he'd say it's both. The equipment is important, but doesn't take good photos on its own. So he put it better than me. There you go. We'll use that.
It's great, though, isn't it, to be able to do this? And should we move on to digiscoping or... You want to do the geese first? What do you fancy?
Yeah, I don't know, really. I mean, Steve, I think you were going to talk about great white egret, weren't you, Steve?
Yeah, great white egret.
Oh, right, yeah.
Let me just bear with me, because I had a few technical issues last month, as you probably will remember. And
was that the one that Claire, was it Claire wrote in?
yeah, Claire Ward emailed us, and she was birding at Abberton the other day, and she saw a great white egret, and it was colour ringed. And it was, she saw it on, let me just make a note of this, 25th of October she saw this, and I'll just share the picture. So this is the bird in question. But amazingly, this is a bird that I saw last year on the 4th of November. And it came from Lithuania. I don't know if anyone can remember that far back.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's turned up at Abberton virtually on the same, you know, within a few days of last year.
Wow.
This bird last year went on to Lakenheath, and I mean, maybe it does the same again this year.
How interesting.
Crazy. Yeah.
It's just a map showing
Good grief.
where it's travelled from to.
Wow.
It would be fascinating to know whether they've tracked it and picked it up in Lithuania again, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I haven't heard. I mean, Claire didn't mention it, but I'll see if I can find out, you know, any more details. But phenomenal record.
Amazing.
And of course, this autumn at Abberton, I think there's been up to like 36, 38 great white egrets. So
yeah,
I think we'll be seeing more colour ringed birds turning up.
that's good. And if you're new to seeing colouring birds, then obviously look back over our shows, because we've covered that in some of our previous programs, and what to do, and some of the data and the interesting things that you find from that. And obviously, yeah, kind of get that data into the BTO, because the people that ring it really appreciate knowing what's going on. It's vital data. And again, let us know, even if we can't, you know, share all the details of every bird that you know, the data comes in from. It's good to know, and we can pass that on to the society as well, so they've got a record of what's happening in the county with ringed birds.
We may. Oh, sorry, go on, Steve.
Just a quick message from Pete Dwyer to say that his criteria are very similar to yours for judging the photographs. A crisp image draws his attention. So
yeah.
Very good. Thanks, Pete. Good to know you're watching.
We've got a bit of bird fair related chat in the YouTube. So obviously, as we probably all know, bird fair is unfortunately not going to be coming back to Rutland Water. And a statement was issued, which we won't go into in huge depth, but it's on the internet. It's out there if anyone wants to read it. And I think it's a combination of the fact that through the pandemic, they've obviously lost money by the 2020 bird fair being cancelled, and obviously starting to make arrangements for the 2021 bird fair, and that was then cancelled, of course, as well. So that's cost them money. And then in addition, I think they're looking at the whole idea behind bird fair, and the idea that you're kind of promoting people travelling long distances, often from Europe and beyond, and the kind of overall carbon footprint of bird fair itself. So I don't think we haven't really got time to get into that subject tonight in great depth, because it's a whole subject on its own. And obviously everyone's going to have their own personal opinions. But Richard's put bird fair, mixed views, always a thoroughly enjoyable 3 days, even in the mud plus fundraising for various conservation projects. But is it right, given the climate crisis, that people fly in from all over the world, often to promote international birding trips? So again, yeah. You know, it's the same thing as when we discussed a little while ago about twitching, isn't it? And is it right for me to drive 300 miles to see a bird I haven't seen before? It's a bit selfish, really, isn't it?
I have to be honest,
I don't know.
I have to be honest.
See him,
I had similar questions regarding a little event that happened up in Glasgow a few weeks ago, and I'm sure I wasn't alone. But it's, you know, how it's interesting, isn't it? Very, but yeah, it's not happening at the moment. Whether something happens virtually or you know, with a different focus, because the conservation side of it, you know, is really, really important, I think. And there you go. Anyway, I think on our own local patch, go on, Matt.
Sorry, I was just going to say, if it is virtual this year, at least it means that my credit card won't get a battering on at the retail stalls. Daryl's very quickly as well on the subject of great white egrets before we move on. Daryl's put that 36 was the maximum this year at Abberton. At the moment, there's only 9 or 10 left now. So
wow.
Yeah.
I was thinking the other day, and it's not for discussion tonight, so we've got such a full agenda, but I reckon kind of this year, I don't know if it's the first year, it might have been last year, Daryl might know, certainly Simon and the and when the bird report comes out, we'll know. But could this be the first year where cattle egret was in the county for throughout every month?
Yeah,
Could be. Yeah, could be.
Great white egret almost certainly the year before, but yeah, good. So you've got a friend, guy you know, Steve Grimwade, John. He's going to be with us next month.
Yeah, so one of our Birdwatching Society members, John Buchanan from Heybridge, has him and a few others, well, especially more John, pretty much with the help of a few local birders, has produced this wonderful, if I can get my camera, book, this lovely Wildlife of Malden, the natural history of Riverside Town. Fantastic book, 244 pages, and it's just full of, sorry, can't see you very well, but it's just information, all about the birds around the Malden area, and you know, species lost, species gained, not just birds, insects, flowers, all sorts of stuff. So yeah.
So does it have a map on there as to what area it covers at all? Do you know? Or
find that. Just bear with me while I turn the pages over.
It looks like a great book.
It looks good, doesn't it?
There's the camera. So here's the map of his patch. So this whole area that can't. Some terrible luck.
Looks like it goes Malden, South Woodland Ferrers.
Now we've got Malden, Heybridge, Northey Island, right the way down to Mundon is their local patch.
Yeah.
Covers, you know, wildlife sightings for the last 20 years.
Brilliant.
And you've got a little screenshot there, haven't you, Matt? For
how do people get hold of that if they want it?
If I can.
We're doing our Black Friday bit, aren't we?
Yeah, Black Friday.
In fact, no. I'll tell you what. I'll put the screenshot onto a slideshow at the end that we're going to be doing.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. At the end of the show,
so
there'll be a screen. But John Buchanan is. Do we have his email?
Yeah,
it's at the end, isn't it?
The screen at the end.
Yeah. Okay. So you'll be able to see that at the end of the screen, end of the show. But we've got John coming on in person next time, which is December the 17th.
Yep.
Friday, December the 17th, not the last Friday in the month because that's Christmas Eve. Yep. Yeah, so we'll be finding out more about John as a person, how he got into birding, his experiences and what's happening over there. That's great. John.clan Buchanan at btinternet.com. And it's £17 plus £3 for the post. Looks a great read and real help for birding in that particular area. If you want a day out there, or if you are new to the area and you want to know what's likely to be about and where to go.
Great. I want to know, for 20 quid, do I get the binoculars and the sketch pad as well?
Also, as you can see there, it's available at Malden Books, which is a small independent bookshop in Malden, near the Blue Boar pub, if anyone knows it.
There you go.
Great place to use independent shops as well.
Yeah.
And they've got copies. So
that might be a nice little Christmas shopping trip out to Malden. It's a lovely little down the
best place on the earth, that is. I was born there, so
so it's the best place now because you've moved out, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, you landed on that one, Steve. Right. What are we doing? Winter geese?
Yeah.
Digiscoping?
I don't know, really. What do you want? What do you want to do? You ready for geese?
You choose. I can do whatever you like, mate.
Let's do geese and keep the digiscoping for 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just find the screen share.
We're working him hard tonight.
Meanwhile, while he's doing that, Pete Dwyer's saying greetings to our new members participating tonight. So yeah, if anyone out there is a new member, hello, welcome, and thank you very much for joining. And we hope you enjoy what we're doing.
And don't forget the special. If you join now the society, you get the rest of this year and next year. So do it now because days are kind of tallying down on that bonus.
Oh yeah, definitely. You're right there. And Daryl again, he said the coots, there's 1,391 on an October wildfowl count at Abberton and 1,773 in November. In the past, there were regularly 10,000 plus.
Wow.
So that's like 85% down, isn't it? That's huge. And he's also saying Wildlife from Malden is a brilliant book, well worth the money, lots of photos and very nicely laid out. And to be fair, just through you flicking through it, it did look fab. And because it's like local, yeah, I'm probably going to try and grab a copy as well. Actually, I think it looks good.
It's printed by the same people that do the Essex Bird Report. So obviously, the members have seen that
Quality.
See what good quality it is. So
solid.
I used to work in the print trade, and I know good quality, and that is certainly it. So yeah.
Would this be the point where we talk about jumpers and possible prizes, or am I jumping the gun?
I'll save that to a bit later. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, do that later. Yeah.
You better wait for that. We've got something good coming up. You won't want to miss that one. Good. There we go. Geese.
Yeah, so we're getting to the time of year when it's turning a little bit chilly, and our birding focus turns to things like wildfowl, raptors and wildfowl. So I thought I'd put together a little few images of just some of the sort of species that we get in Essex, with the exception of Taiga bean geese, which is quite a rarity, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So everyone should be familiar with our good old friend, the Greylag Goose. Very chunky goose, that lovely bright orange bill and pinky orange legs. So we're familiar with that. So this is our sort of base species. Quite overall grey brown. Quite a smart bird actually, often overlooked. Here's a couple. These are all Matt. A lot of these are Matt's photographs. So thanks, Matt, for sending these in. But yeah, nice shot there. Nice orange bill again, and same pink leg. And here's a few in flight. So they're just quite an overall grey brown. The upper wing in flight's quite pale, and as you can see, underwing there has got quite like white and black underwing. And then we move on to some of our sort of other species that turn up in Essex. So this is pink-footed goose. So it used to be quite a rare bird in Essex, but they're turning up quite more regularly now. Numbers in Norfolk and Suffolk are increasing. This is a very small goose, so quite a bit smaller than the greylag. And as you can see from the shot, very dark-headed and necked, with the pink and black bill, and this lovely sort of scalloping on the upper parts. And this was taken at Abberton a few years ago. And here in flight, you can see the obviously dark head and neck contrasting with a sort of grey brown body. And then in flight, they've got these lovely sort of bluish tinge to the wings, blue panels on the wings, and a nice pink and black beak, just nice small. And obviously it's got pink legs, hence the name pink-footed goose. So these are well worth keeping an eye out in the next month or two, especially sort of around the coast and occasionally inland as well. And another species that turns up quite regularly in Essex is this is got a greater white-fronted goose, or the Russian white-fronted goose. And you can see why it's called the white-fronted goose. It's got this big nasal. If I can just enlarge a little bit, there you go. You can see this nice white base to the bill. And Russian white-fronted geese have a pink bill and orange legs. And you can see on these three birds here, they've all got varying amounts of black barring on the belly, which is pretty diagnostic and a good ID marker. Obviously, the bird on the left's got a lot more than the bird in the middle and the bird on the right. So and last year, I don't know if you guys remember this, there was a massive influx.
Yeah.
Into Essex of almost, I think there was like 1,000 odd birds down in South Essex, Mersey Island.
Even into London, weren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember having one over the garden here one evening. So
this photo was actually taken at Holland, and 183, I think there were in the flock that came over. And I was watching something else, and they came over from behind me, and the noise was brilliant. And they all just landed, and it's fabulous.
Yeah. For any international viewers, that's Holland Haven, Essex, not Holland as in the country.
Sorry, yeah.
There's lots of those there, no doubt. Three in Holland.
And here is that shot that Matt talked about with the birds coming into land.
Brilliant.
You can obviously see they've got nice, pink bills and bright orange legs. Let's say all of these birds, they all look like, these are all white-fronted geese.
One of those times you'll never forget, Matt.
Yeah, I'm just absolutely fabulous. It was me and Mick Rodwell. We were the only two people on the site at the time, and I was over one side, he was over the other. We hadn't even said hello yet, and these birds came across, and we were both just speechless. It was just one of those moments that you remember forever, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hopefully, with the weather turning colder, certainly from this weekend, we may get an influx of geese. I mean, ideally, you need something colder on the continent to force them across, but you know, who knows? So these are all Russian or European white-fronted geese. And if I can, wait, oh no, I've got to zoom out, haven't I? I knew I'd cock it up somewhere along the line. And here's a shot of Matt's that nice close range, showing the nice clear view of the white on the base of the hill. And
you do get greylags with a white round the bill from time to time, don't you? But the beak's so much bigger. It's that real carrot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's got a very sort of farmyard, typical farmyard goose sort of bill. Yeah. These are a much more delicate bill in comparison. So this is Russian white fronts, and then I'll just zoom in this. So this is a Greenland white-fronted goose. So this is quite a rarity in Essex. This one was taken at Mersey, I think, Matt, wasn't it?
No, that was actually Holland Haven again.
That was Holland Haven again. Sorry,
about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, there was one at Holland Haven, and I think one or two at Mersey at the same sort of time. So this, as you can see, it's got a lot of black barring. It tends to be more heavily black barred than the Russian or European white fronts, and again has the orange legs. But you'll notice, if I can zoom in a bit more, it's got an orange bill.
Very orange, isn't it? And legs.
Very orange bill. And again, you can nice comparison with the Greylag geese in the background.
They've just kind of got bigger heads, Greylags, haven't they? They just look bigger, don't they?
Yeah. You can see that one on the left's got a bit of attitude. He has. So yeah, well worth looking out for Greenland white fronts. These birds tend to winter up in sort of the the west coast, the Outer Hebrides and places like that. A few into Wales and Ireland, but they do occasionally turn up in Essex. So yeah, well worth looking out for those if you're scanning through your goose flocks. Then what we've got next, we have this is a Tundra bean goose. So again, I've just zoomed in a bit there. So you can see slightly stockier than the white-fronted geese that are present there. Similar sort of shaped bill to the pink-footed goose, but it's got a small amount of orange on, and obviously it's got orange legs. So that's another smart bird that turns up in Essex. Not every winter, but more occasionally than not. And so that's one worth looking out for.
There was quite a few of them at Abberton last year, I think, wasn't there? Or the year before, it might have been actually.
Yeah, there was several small flocks roaming around the reservoir. And again, I think it was taken up at Holland Haven again, I think, Matt, wasn't it?
Yeah, this one was. Yeah, I mean, they just look a bit darker than Pinkfoot. So if you can't see the legs, if they're in the water, they just look like a darker bird, particularly on the mantle of the back, on their wings. The Pinkfoot look a lot more frosty, don't they?
Absolutely. And actually, just in this picture here, we've got this bird. Can you see my mouse?
Yeah.
This is a juvenile white-fronted goose. So it doesn't have the black barring like the adults. And you've got an adult here just on the right-hand side of the screen. But if I zoom in a little tiny bit and just move that over,
that's good.
The juveniles still have a bit of white around the base of the bill, but they have a little black tip to the bill.
Okay.
So that's well worth, and I think pretty much we've got quite a few juveniles there, actually. Yeah, so maybe that's a family party. Quite
Could be, yeah. And obviously, don't you see it's the pink bill as well? That's the kind of the giveaway with the Russian one, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Yes, nice shot there, Matt. I really like that. And then this is incredibly rare in Essex, but again, always worth a scan out. I apologise for the poor image. This was taken up in Norfolk at Buckingham Marshes, but this is Taiga bean goose. So superficially similar to the Tundra bean goose, but tends to be much longer necked.
Sorry, Steve, I think your microphone just cut out when it's the Taiga bean goose, isn't it?
Oh, this is Taiga bean goose. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. Still hear me now, yeah, presumably?
Yep.
Yes, this is Tiger bean goose, so it's got a much longer neck than Tundra bean goose, and a more sort of longer bill, and tends to have quite a bit more orange on the bill than Tundra bean goose. So yeah, well worth keeping an eye out for these. I mean, I have to say numbers are declining pretty rapidly in Britain. I mean, this is just taken in Norwich, and I think there's, well, I think there was only like 1 or 2 birds came back last winter. So fingers crossed they come back again. So
I take it that's a kind of a climate change type thing. Is it they're staying elsewhere, or?
To be fair, Matt, yeah, I mean, they breed. I mean, they tend to winter a lot in like Sweden and Scandinavia, and I think again it's quite mild there, so they tend to stay in their sort of breeding grounds, really. So just quite a brief feature, but just gives the bird, gives everyone an idea of what to look for.
Superb.
Excellent. That's great. Thanks, Steve.
My pleasure.
Brilliant. So we've had Brent geese last time. So if you didn't catch that, you'll be able to get familiar with them and the various brand and subspecies. Have you got a funny message coming through?
Yeah, we've got some quite good feedback. So Pete Dwyer said you get a pin badge when joining. So yeah, don't forget that you get pin. And of course, you get a copy of the yearly bird report, and you get 2 copies of the biannual Essex Birding magazine as well. I'll get that closer, Steve. That's a great little badge. That is. There you go. For anyone that likes their badges, that's a real smart little badge, definitely. Yep. King Cobra said to all of us, I think, have a question about how any of you let other birders know that there is a bird at a specific spot. For example, do we use Google Map pin drop, or what 3 words, etc.? So,
good question.
Yeah,
good question.
What 3 words is really good. If you've not used it, it's fantastic.
I've not used that.
Yeah, so if anyone doesn't know what it is, it gives what 3 words gives 3 words, 3 different words every 1 meter square, 1 meter square in the world. So if you're looking for it, it can really pinpoint spot on where you're looking.
It's an app, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I use it a lot for plants. Like some of the rare species. It's good to because they're not going to move around too much. So, yeah, I tend to use what 3 words.
I think generally I'd say kind of for me, most of us kind of have our own areas that we bird watch, and people, and that comes after time. I'm, fairly new into it, so I've kind of been on that journey. But then you learn, the names for places like around here, the Dowitcher Pond, which nobody out there in Essex will probably, or some would probably remember a Dowitcher and coming down and twitching it. We might have a program about twitching coming up in the future at some point, but that's actually where people travel to see a bird. But one particular pond down there in East Tilbury near the sea wall, there was Paul Wood found a Dowitcher species. I can't remember if it's short-billed or long-billed, but was it long-billed? It's become known as the Dowitcher Pond. So we learn these kind of little names for places and generally know. But if you are new to an area, then if you find other birders, often they'll have a WhatsApp group and communicate that way. Or if you're not already on the Essex Birdwatching Society news feed that we have spinning off our website, that's another way to get to know what's about and what's been reported. And you can always send an email back to the person that's put the message up to maybe inquire if you want to know.
So yeah, I mean, you've got we have on the Essex Birdwatching Society website all the local sightings that people have put on here. They go on instantly, and so you can have a good old read through and see what's been around. And there's even, I hope you're seeing this properly, there's even a map. So if it makes it easier for you to kind of visualize things by looking at a map, then Andrew, our web designer, has put this map handily on the website, which is absolutely superb, and you can kind of zoom out and zoom in, and then you can hover over the blobs, and it will tell you what's been seen recently near you. And you've obviously got there's kind of rare bird pages and things that you can get if you get to that level of wanting to go and try and find some more rare stuff. I think a lot of it is just getting out and about really and making friends, and then quite often you'll get contacts that way. So yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. I was going to mention actually, because it's the end of the year and stuff, not that we're advertising or getting any commission or anything like that, but there are 1 or 2 different birding facility or birding apps and companies that actually organise and tell you where information on where birds are sighted and people report to. Rare Bird Alert is one, and Bird Guides is the other big one. That you pay a subscription over a year or over a number of months for a shorter subscription, and they will feed you or you get access to their website of what's about. But Twitter is a great tool for finding out what's about in Essex and get some friends and connect that way as well through social media or Facebook.
Talking about friends, Steve, there's a couple of people on here that you might want to knock off your list. Mel Shepherd Wells has said, wow, Steve G, you actually used to work.
Thanks, Mel.
that's one less Christmas card you got to buy.
Exactly. Rip that up.
And Martin Gathercole added, no, he was in the print trade.
Oh, that's
very good.
Yeah.
Like that. And Daryl Rhymes has asked a question, but I'm gonna put it in a pictorial form. So he said, "What about?"
Oh, there's a white-fronted goose. I forgot that.
I just like to add, this is not a photo I've taken. This is that I've just found it on the Cornell website. So credit to them, of course, whoever posted that. Yeah.
So again, this is well worth looking out for as well, actually. And yeah, much smaller than the greater white, the European white-fronted goose. Bit more of an extensive white blaze on the forehead there, going up onto the forehead, and this lovely yellow eye ring. And they're quite a small goose. I mean, obviously they are quite a small goose. So, and not so much black barring on the belly.
I've never seen one, but it looks relatively short-necked as well. You know, almost like a duck sort of size, almost. Or
type structure. You know, that sort of bird.
Kind of heads the kind of shape and size of a barnacle goose, isn't it? Pretty petite, cute.
So yeah,
thanks for that, Daryl. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the guys, Tim and David, are saying they think it's 3 meter squares for 3 words?
Yeah, it's 3. Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
Oh God, I'm doing well tonight, aren't I?
Oh, brilliant.
Good.
Should we do some digiscoping, guys?
Let's do some digiscoping, Matt. Yeah. If you want to get your stuff ready. So we better tell people what digiscoping is really first, don't we, Ken? Just an introduction. And it's basically taking an image through a telescope or a binoculars or some of the optical device with a digital camera. And obviously phones have digital cameras now on them. And so there's kind of 2 branches really of digiscoping. It used to just be digital cameras when our phones didn't have cameras on, but now there's phonescoping where you can connect your phone to the camera, and also the traditional digiscoping where you connect your digital camera to the, and we're going to cover both tonight. Matt's going to kick off with phonescoping, isn't it?
Yeah, so I did this little piece. It's only about 5 or 6 minutes, so hopefully I won't.
We're going to go get a cup of coffee, aren't we?
Yeah, I was going to say hopefully I won't put too many people to sleep. But I filmed this earlier on in the week, just around the corner at Ardea Reservoir. So fingers crossed. Just tell me, can you see that image on the screen?
It's coming now, and it's clearing as you speak.
Lovely.
Hopefully.
So
yeah, if people can feedback, this is a new Zoom feature we've found to play videos. So if you can give us some feedback on, please forgive us if it doesn't work, but give us some feedback on whether it works for you on your device. And yeah.
And if you guys can shout up if you can't hear the sound. So I'm just going to be quiet, but if you can't hear the sound, say, and I'll see if I can address that.
Will do.
Okay. Right, ready? Here we go. Okay, so I'm here at sunny Ardley, and I'm going to show you how to put your phone onto your phonescoping adapter. So I've got a generic third-party phonescoping adapter made by Viking. This can take any phone, and the idea is that you simply adjust the adapter to fit your phone. So the phone is held in place by 4 rubber clamps, as you can see here. They can move on this particular adapter for the width of your phone. And then you pop the phone in place, you align it so that the camera is lined up with the hole at the top. Again, this adapter comes with a series of rings which are designed to fit various scope eyepiece sizes. So you choose the correct ring to fit your scope, pop the phone in place, and away you go. Now, there are other adapters that are designed for specific scopes or specific phones or a combination thereof. There are also third-party generic adapters to fit any phone and any scope that will remember where your phone goes, so it makes it very quick and easy to put the phone into position. But with this one, it's not difficult at all. You offer the phone up, you turn the clamps so that the phone is held in place, You then spin round, quickly line the camera up in the right position on the adapter so that it's ready to go when you pop it onto your scope. I've also got a strap on the phone so that it makes it nice and easy to put it around my neck when I'm carrying it around. And I've also got this little remote control adapter or Bluetooth adapter that makes it very simple to take your pictures. So instead of having to jab the screen of the phone and potentially jog the phone, which can obviously upset the image, once everything's lined up, you just simply click a button and the picture is then taken. So hopefully we're going to have a look and see if we can get some pictures. So the phone is now on the adapter. I'm videoing through the phone, and you can see at Ardee at the moment we've got mallard, we've got gadwall, we've got coot and moorhen. So there's lots of things on the water, but they're all a fair distance away. So we're going to see if we can get some images through the scope. Now I wear glasses, so my scope is usually set so that the adjustment on the eyepiece is wound all the way in for my glasses. The first thing I'm going to do is wind this all the way out. Now I found that this gives you a better, crisper image because giving that little bit of eye relief makes it easier for the camera on the phone to focus. Now I'm going to pop the phone onto the adapter and just simply offer it up as so. And hopefully we can now all see there's a nice circle on the adapter, which is what I'm looking at through the scope right now. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom into the image a little bit just to crop the circle out. And I do that because it just makes it easier to focus and easier to look at the target. And in fact, got a nice shoveler in the middle there. Don't often get them here, so that's quite a good start. So easier to see the target. And as you can see, of course, we can take video doing it this way, as well as taking photographs. So I'm now going to see if I can zoom in using the scope. So zooming right in now, 50 times magnification. Now that shoveler is right at the back of the reserve. I'd say the distance from here is a good, I don't know, 150 plus meters, 200 meters maybe. So that's quite a distance away. And as you can see, we've got some nice video footage of the shoveler just sitting there, not doing much, to be fair. But it's nice and sharp and colourful, and certainly a better image than I'd be able to get with my camera, even though I've got a reasonably long lens on my camera. So I'm going to stop the video now, and I'm going to use my little clicker to take a couple of pictures as well. Before I stop the video, you can, of course, and I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to give it a try, you can twist the phone round and you can record in landscape as well. So a bit shaky because I haven't set it up for that. I might try that in a second, but you get the general idea. Okay, so as mentioned previously, you can record in landscape as well if you're taking a video or even a picture. Sometimes it's nicer to do it in this format, and as you can see, I've just reversed or rotated the phone round on the adapter. Probably not quite straight, but you'll have to forgive me. But you get the general idea, and you get a nice landscape view of the wildfowl. And again, you can move your scope quite easily to keep up with what's going on. And of course, you can touch the screen and focus on various different parts. So I'm focusing on the reeds in the background there, and then bring the focus forwards again for the shoveler. So nice and easy to do. On a scope, it's going to be nice and steady because it's on a tripod, of course, and you can get some really good video footage that you probably wouldn't be able to get with your standard camera. So as you can see, it's not just ducks and geese that you can phone scope. I'm phone scoping a green sandpiper at the moment, feeding on the edge of the reservoir, and I'm probably 30 or 40 meters away and getting some lovely views through the scope and the phone. So one thing that I forgot to mention is that it's often easier to line your scope up with the birds or bird before you attach the phone. I would hope that's fairly obvious, but it just makes life a little bit easier because obviously once the phone is in position, not quite as straightforward to align the scope with the target. So we're going to finish with some just some video footage of gadwall feeding on the reservoir, which is quite nice really, if I can find any. as you can see, easier to line the scope up beforehand, but we'll get there in the end. And there we go, nice male gadwall, just having a bit of a snooze in the morning sun. So hopefully that goes some way to helping, and if you have any questions, let us know. Thank you. There you go, we should be back in the room.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. I don't know whether anybody's put in the comments, but I was impressed you got David Attenborough there to come and do the voiceover for the. Here we have a green sandpiper.
I was actually going to do a full-on impression, but I couldn't do it. So.
I've got my piece of video coming later, but I couldn't afford to get anybody in to do the voiceovers, mate.
Yeah, I mean, on a serious note, that literally took, you know, about 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes before work to just get the footage. And obviously I just popped it together at home, but it's that easy. So if you've got a phone with a camera, which most people have, and if you've got a scope, and any scope will work, and there's a whole range of different adapters available. Obviously I had a particular one. Steve S, I think you're probably going to talk about it. There you go. You've made one. I mean, that's all it is. It holds your phone and it's got a hole in it.
Yeah. You know, I actually made this when the idea first came out. It's just literally two vitamin C cap, another one that fitted my two lenses on I had a telescope where you had to screw in different lenses, a wide angle and a narrow zoom. And that took one of the best pictures of the Essex surf scoter that Rick Vont used in presentations, and long may he continue to do so, Ravness.
Nice.
What's the back bit? Is that your standard, like a standard phone case?
It's a standard phone case. Yeah.
Genius.
It's even got crazy colours on it. And I just literally I actually put a credit card, well, not a credit card, but a kind of a store card to strengthen it, stop it flexing, and then kind of just basically put the caps in the right position, because it's already got the holes for where for the particular phone, isn't it? Where the camera is, and then just drill them through with a drill if you're handy.
I love that. That's
if
superb.
I just show the one I use now, it's not dissimilar. I use a standard phone case. This is just a seal, whatever it is, seal skin case or whatever, the one that you can apparently drop. It's got Velcro stuck to the back over the phone camera piece. And this is a bought item, but you buy the collar for your particular phone and it screws into a mount, and the Velcro's on the back of the mount, and literally it's that and that. I will actually glue this on. And I'm not sure, New Pro were the company I bought this from online. I'm not sure whether they're still doing this, but they have another lollipop type adaptable one, like what Matt was using. So there are different ones around. What do you use, Steve?
Yeah.
I don't use one. I handhold so I've just got my camera here and my phone here even, and I've got I just handhold it. And if I can quickly, I'll just show you a quick.
While you're finding a picture, didn't you say the other day that somebody, one of the adapters has got an app as well or something? Yeah.
So again, as Steve said about New Pro.
Yeah. phonescope.
Yeah, phonescope.
These are made by phonescope.
One of my customers, Yvonne Jepson, who's hopefully watching tonight, she's got a phonescope adapter, and you can get an app. You can download an app that goes onto your phone that basically controls all your settings and everything, which is
on the camera.
Yeah.
Tunes it in.
So that's worth a look. So I only just handhold mine, and this is a shot. It's not a great shot, but
nice.
This is a picture of a peregrine that I took at Old Hall Marshes last week.
Yeah, but again, you know what? If you're watching something through your scope and you just want to grab a quick record shot, I mean, that's just handheld.
That's just handheld. Yep.
Brilliant.
Yep. So if anyone's watching and wants to buy me one for Christmas, there's no hint in the next room. I wouldn't mind one. So,
mate, she's not watching. She won't be watching you.
No, she's probably not. No. Yeah, really worth doing. And of course, mobile phone cameras nowadays are really good quality.
Brilliant, yeah.
So you get some great shots and video as well.
Yeah.
So we've got some feedback on here. Thanks for all the comments about the video, guys. Appreciate that. So Darryl has said, what adapter did you use and how much was it? So my adapter is a Viking, or it's made by Viking, but it was actually an RSPB adapter. I don't think they make that particular one anymore. It was £20. It came with 3 different rings, and you may have noticed that I had to wrap a bit of duct tape around one of the rings to get it to be a nice snug fit onto the scope. But yeah, I mean, it's very simple. And as Steve's done, that's probably a brilliant idea, actually. If you just get an old case and drill a hole and shove a thing on it, you know, find something that fits. I think that's a fantastic idea.
The other thing, you can buy eBay or Amazon or whatever just for less than 10 quid, I think. A little Bluetooth dongle, I think they call them, to link into your phone. You can take it off to take your pictures, because you don't want to be, if you are using a case, you don't want to be touching anything. You want to keep it still, as Matt said in the video.
Yeah, I mean, mine cost, I think it was £5, to be fair. It's so cheap.
But for me, I just kind of, here's my phone. I take it out the case. It's exactly the same case it's in every day. Take it out, pop it into this one. Look, there's my binoculars, and I'm ready to go. I've even got a magnet on it, so I can stick it on my car when I'm driving, and you know.
Brilliant.
But
really good.
Yeah, and very cheap. Say case was about 10-15 quid. These used to be about 20-25 quid for the collar and the mount, but I think there might be a little bit more. But yeah.
King Cobra's asked, the colour change of the water, is that due to algal bloom? So yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot of algae at Ardee at the moment, particularly on the west side, because obviously as the sun rises at the moment, it's staying quite low in the sky. I think it's all just growing in that area of the reservoir. So yeah, that's what that is. But the gad will love it. Yeah. You know, every morning when I pull up, they're all sort of reasonably close, and they're kind of just eating all the algae, which is great. So yeah. Andy Goody has said, I use a generic adapter between my phone and scope, which is quite fiddly to set up, but it's cheap and at least allows some basic photo opportunities. So yeah, I think it's quite straightforward to do. And as we all said, there's lots of different ones. And Andy's also asked, where can you get the phone remote? I think Steve just said, I mean, I got mine from Amazon, to be fair. It was a £5, but there's quite a few out there. If you just Google it, Bluetooth clicker, you know, for camera phone, and there's loads available.
Brilliant.
Yeah, you just some may be kind of iPhone generic, Apple, and others might be Samsung. That's the only thing to watch. Make sure you get the right one. But there's pretty much only the two now on the market. But yeah, good. So the other thing I think it's worth saying with regard to telescopes, I got better. I had an old Nikon telescope, an ED82, which had a telescopic 25 to 75 lens. I got better images on digiscoping with that, even though it was narrower with less light, than I did a wide angle lens 32. There was a slight deviation in the kind of prism, I think, on the wide angle, and also kind of you want, as you'll see in my video, you want your telescope to be as still as possible, and higher magnification results in more vibration. I use the word wobble on the video, don't pull my leg about that, but more vibration, I should say, which means that your images can be blurred. So 25 times is what you want. But you can also, and I don't think we've covered this, you can put the your phone over your binoculars, and there's mounts for that, isn't there?
There are, yeah. And also don't forget, the other thing you can do, although you will lose image quality, but you can not only zoom on the scope, you can then zoom on your phone as well. Yeah, and I find it better to do that, Matt. Use the phone rather than the scope, personally. I always crop off the vignetting, the round bits, but obviously when you're zooming in on the phone, you're kind of digitally zooming, so technically you'll lose quality, but it gives you massively extra magnification. So, you know, if something's a long way away and you want to get a record shot, don't forget you can do that as well as that. And as Steve was saying, the bigger the objective lens you've got on your scope, if you have got a larger scope, what that does is it allows more lighting. And obviously cameras work using light. So the more light that's coming in, the better the scope is for phone scoping, generally speaking.
And you have to be aware, if you have got more than one
oh yeah, you've got the fancy camera, Steve.
Yeah. So different, certain settings. It uses one camera. You zoom in a bit, and it goes to another camera. So you've got to make sure that you've got the right camera in the right hole.
Is there 5 cameras on that?
I've got 4 cameras on this one, and
oh my goodness.
Flash. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the cameras do have multiple lenses now. So just be aware of that.
Have any of them managed to make you look pretty yet?
not yet. Oh, they haven't come up with a camera like that yet.
That's another Christmas card off the list, mate. You're not going to have to buy any at all at this rate.
You know what? I might just leave you two to it. I'm going to go and put my foot up.
I was going to say, let me know when you find it. I'm sure I'll be able to break it.
Like it.
Good. Any more questions out there, or should we go to camera?
Just one more comment, really. We've got Veg Thermoso, and apologies if I've pronounced your name incorrectly. I bought the dedicated adapter for the scope, £100, but well worth the effort. Not a fan of the pictures I get, but love the video option. Oh, and that's actually, sorry, that's from Alan Bright. I do apologise. So that's from Alan Bright. So thanks for that, Alan. And yeah, the dedicated ones, as we said, the one thing they will do, they will give you an exact fit for your phone and an exact fit for your scope and the exact amount of eye relief you need to get the best image from both. So yes, they're more expensive, but they do give you that precision that you can't get with a generic one, although you can get pretty close.
Might be something for later follow-up, Matt, Alan, but I'd be interested to know what you're not happy about with the image, because you should be able to get a good image from what you've got. So it might be phone settings or something like that, but feedback to us, and if we can help, then we will.
So what have you got then, Steve?
Good. Well, I'm going to be looking at this device. This is the Digidapter, and that's what I use with my camera. I can't show you my camera because it's up there filming me at the moment, but you'll see it right now. Again, guys, just let me know in the chat if... Here's my kit for digiscoping with a camera. This is a Lumix G7 with a 20mm pancake lens. I use a Swarovski SDX telescope, and I do that via the Digidapter. I've got an Arca Swiss plate on there. That doesn't come with it, but it's fairly cheap to put on, and just clips onto the Arca Swiss plate on my camera. So my camera's ready out of my bag. I've got extra bits that I will put on sometimes, but for a simple digiscope, I've got my subject, the horse in the field, and I'm going to hit, I've set my focus to manual focus and to a macro, the closest in focus that I can get on here. 1.7 tightest aperture to open wide the aperture, manual mode, and literally I'll hit record here to show you also what it looks like on here too. Looks like on here to mount up, screw that down. The horse has moved, but we are in. I'll just square it off. There we go, and I'm shooting. So here's my setup. I've got in a sheltered area out of the wind because I'm trying to make sure there's no vibration, no wobble on that scope and camera tripod at all. You'll notice I've put my bag on it to weight it down. I've also got the neck of the neck column on the tripod is right down, so there's no wobble there. And I've also got a shutter release button connected to my camera, so literally I can hold this without touching and wobbling the system and shoot pictures. The other thing that I've got, you'll have noticed, I have a Rode microphone. It's one of the Rode video ranges that gives me sound from the field if I'm actually shooting video. And off it comes. There's a Digidapter. I can obviously just screw that screw there straight into my camera, and the red little mounts there are made to line up where your camera needs to be, because it's absolutely imperative to keep your camera square to the telescope and have it as close in as possible. The beauty of this system is it's going in exactly the same place every time, and once I've zoomed in the lens on manual focus to the macro mode, because you're literally focusing on that image that's been produced in your telescope just down the eyepiece, then the front of the lens is almost kissing the front of the telescope, so there's literally zero vignetting, or very, very little vignetting that I have to worry about with this system. I just line it up, lock it in, off I go. And I'm off. Obviously easier on the angle ones, but then you're not going to, or you're going to struggle to take shots of birds in flight looking down at an angle. Oh, that's nice. So we're about 1.5 miles from the Thames here, and the gulls regularly use this route to go into roost on the river. This is going to be wobbly because I'm handheld, but the point is, if that's worse, some rarer bird, I could potentially get some image of it, identify it later. Bit of a flyover action. I've just heard some ringneck parakeets coming in. I might have something for you there. The beauty of having this adapter, this Arca Swiss adapter, is if my battery dies in the middle of videoing something, I can just literally half release this, slide it across, drop the battery catch or memory card and replace it and put it in. Because of the maneuverability, I can move that plate up and down, side to side. I can keep this for future cameras. Yeah, that's the Digi adapter and what I use for my Micro Four Thirds Lumix G7. Very happy with it. Show you a few images that I'm pretty pleased with. Suits me.
Excellent.
So there we go.
Superb, mate.
So
I love the swallows being fed. That was excellent. Seeing all the insects fall out, it was brilliant.
I'm more impressed he didn't have to show the albatross map. I could see that coming. I thought, oh, here we go.
I'd got my finger over the button. To be fair, it would have been cut off if he'd shown the albatross.
I was going to say, one of the biggest problems I have with digiscoping is there are some birds that are actually too big to fill the frame. One in particular that was going to be unmentioned.
To be fair though, you obviously Matt's got his angled scope. You've got your straight through scope, and again, I agree that if you've got a straight through, if you're following stuff in flight, it's going to be so much easier with your straight through
scope. Yeah. And for me, it's a compromise, isn't it? What kit you can take out, even if budget isn't a compromise, and for me it is. Most people it is. And I've made a decision that telescope, I bought a very, very good expensive telescope, the STX 85. Just say on that, I looked at the 95 and the 85, but I went for the 85 because the depth of focus field on the 85 to me was better. And also it drops down to 25 times magnification, which is what I'm predominantly shooting at. Again, what I didn't say is that DigiAdapter, I only got that 2 days before I went to Skokholm and was shooting and taking that film. It took me 4 hours to get that film shot. But, you know, I don't always do a lot of photography of that nature, but in that setting, I wanted that shot, and it's going to be on a canvas on my wall next to Liz Huxley's turtle dove. Thanks, Liz. But yeah, so definitely the straight is the one for me, because I'm not going to buy the big lens and the big, you know, DSLR full frame camera. I'm going to stick to Micro Four Thirds, keep it lightweight. What I cut a piece out the video actually There is a problem with the setup I have and the STX telescopes. They are very back heavy or front heavy. They're not balanced very well. Swarovski know that, and I've spoken to them about it, so I'm not kind of dispelling any problems. And they've actually created a balance rail that you can fit your scope to move it backwards and forwards. I was going to buy one, but I went down to see one a few weeks ago, and it adds an extra third of a kilo, 380 grams or something to your kit, nearly half a kilo. And for me, I'm walking 5 miles with my kit with a telescope on a strap around my shoulder. I don't want the legs up like a gun with the weight all on the head with the extra balance rail, and I don't want an extra third of a kilo. So I've got to kind of work another way around it. But yeah.
Got a question for you. Paul Everett said, what's the best focal length lens for digiscoping?
Perfect. I'm pleased you asked that, because I didn't mention it in the piece. Swarovski do their own lenses for their own kit, which you can buy. And I think they come in either a 15 mil, 20 mil or 25. But there's a 20 millimeter lens for a micro 4/3 camera made by Lumix. And it's got, it goes down to an f-stop of, your apertures of 1.7, which is 1 stop less than any of the other Swarovski lenses. So I'm getting an extra amount of light, so to speak, in layman's terms, which makes a huge difference when you're taking the shot. So a 20 millimeter pancake lens, if you've got the micro 4/3 Olympus or the Lumix camera, you're going to need something else. It's going to be governed by the vignetting, which is the black, what you saw on Matt's video, that black edging. With me, I get very little of that, perhaps a little blur in each corner, because when that lens is right in against the telescope, literally they marry up in terms of the width of the field of view there. And so if you've got a lens with a wider field of view than your scope, then literally you could have only half the lens being used. And so that's going to govern what lens you use. But you want one that's, fixed rather than the zoom lens, but you also want one with the best aperture you can get. And as I say, at the moment, the one that I know of is the Lumix, which is what I've got. Just let me also say on that, you can actually use standard compact cameras, not a bridge camera, but just a normal compact. And if you want to know about the Digi adapter, I'm not on commission, but Paul Sayers designed it. It's a guy who actually designed it, and his website is digiscopeadapter.com. You buy them from America in dollars, and he actually makes them and makes the kit. He's very, very helpful. But he and others, and you'll see on that website, use compact cameras, just a standard, point and shoot, and gets great results.
Don't forget very quickly as well, if anyone's got a 20 mil on a micro 4/3 is going to be the equivalent of like a 40 mil reach. So to achieve that on an APS-C or DX camera, it needs to be probably like a 30 mil. Well, not I can't do the maths at the moment, but probably about 26 mil, 27 mil lens, something like that. And obviously full frame, it'll be a 40 mil lens. So just bear that in mind. But I think as Steve said, it's probably what fits as well. Just experiment with it. I think some places, I don't know about the moment, but a lot of places will let you try equipment as well. So if you take your camera and scope along, you might be able to try adapters. Got another comment on here. I'm gonna brush over all the Steve G looky like comments that we're getting through at the moment. There seems to be a bit of a competition going there. So, we've got another comment from Alan Bright, who said the problem the stills have is to compete with a 500mm f4 and a 7D Mark II. Just find the images lack of clarity and then also lack the facility to adjust in the same way that you can on Lightroom. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think any of us are saying that digiscoping or phone scoping is as good as using a dedicated camera. Because obviously on a camera, you've got, a lens that's going to do things the phone can't do, or maybe the digiscoping can't do. And of course, shooting in RAW, you can't do on a phone. But of course, you could using digiscoping. So
you can on some phones now, Matt.
Yeah.
Some
can
phones
you really?
Shoot in RAW. Yeah, you can get RAW
I
on
didn't know
phones.
that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm shooting in RAW.
Yes.
I would encourage you to look at Tara Tanaka, her website on Vimeo and Flickr. and she actually is creating videos as well, which is the latest thing for camera-based digiscoping, and she gets phenomenal things. She's won the Swarovski Photographer of the Year on at least one occasion, if not a number. But Tara Tanaka on the Vimeo. But yeah, I think, you know, in terms of quality, I don't think you get the definition from Micro Four Thirds. Some people, there's a 400 millimeter, 400 millimeter lens that Lumix Leica brought out, and some people have gone for that and do less digiscoping now. But certainly the guys in America are the guys that I've followed and who really are on the ball with this. And have a look at what they're doing, and they're getting some incredible results that you would never get on a standard camera outside of. Again, my son works for the BBC, and if you're using a red camera or one of the ones that the wildlife guys use, in fact, some are actually filming on digiscoping stuff in the States for wildlife films. See some of Tara's stuff.
I suppose if you think about it as well, digiscoping over phonescoping, if you've got a 50 times zoom on your scope, that's the equivalent of like a 2,500mm lens, roughly.
Yeah, I've seen. I don't understand the mass of it all, but I've heard people say that the equivalency of what I'm using is around about the 10,000 millimeter lens or something like that, just over.
Yeah, huge.
Incredible reach.
Cool. We've got Paul Everett said, "Thanks, Steve. That's very helpful. Uses a crop sensor camera too." So yeah, excellent. And I mean, hopefully, what we've spoken about tonight will help a few people. And I'm really impressed, to be fair, that Steve G, you get such decent results just hand holding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, you get a few dodgy ones, but yeah, like you say, if you just want that record shot, or you know, it's just quick and easy, no faffing around. So yeah.
Well, we've got 10 minutes to go. We've got to tell people what's about.
Well, yeah, let's
do
do
some
reports.
Photo competition, haven't we? It's been good.
We have, yeah. I've done the results.
Well done.
Yeah, Steve G, do you want to start with what's been around in your area and Abberton and so on?
Yeah, so I'm covering sort of sort of the area around Colchester, mid sort of Essex. So what have we got? So Mersey Island's been quite good. Now that it's a well-watched area, in the last month or so, they've got black-throated diver on the Strood, and that's still there today. I think it's been there 3 or 4 days. And this same bird's been seen off Old Hall Marshes as well. They've had short-eared owl, hen harrier, black brant. So whether that's the returning bird, I don't know. And they've also had a black brant times Brent goose hybrid around. We spoke about Abberton earlier. Abberton's had and still continues to have up to 12 red-crested potsherds, a dozen cattle egrets. There's 2 red-necked grebes, one of which shows really well. Was today anyway, and yesterday. It's had common scoter, 4 Slavonian grebes. Oh, what's it had? White stork, the Colchester bird that's done a bit of a tour around. It's been seen at Abberton, Mersey yesterday, Copt Hall Marshes. Where else are we going? Long-tailed duck, hen harrier, scaup. And of course, probably the bird of the month for me was Puffin. There was a Puffin that turned up a few weeks ago, and at
the Abberton bird.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, I only saw it thanks to Matt, really, for letting me know it was there.
Yeah. Apologies for disturbing your lunch. Do apologise.
I know, it's well worth being disturbed for. So yeah, I was having lunch in Brentwood and had to rush back to see the Puffin. Sadly, it died that evening or that next day. So
there's been a few Puffins and auks. Generally, you know, either struggling on the coast or Puffins being seen inland, haven't there? There's been one in Toll St Darcy, I think, wasn't there? Yeah,
there was one picked up in Toll St Darcy that was taken to a wildlife rescue place. And then Paul Rowe, who lives in Tollsbury, he photographed one off Tollsbury Wick a couple of days ago, 3 days ago. It was still there yesterday. So if you've not seen Puffin on your Essex list, then it's well worth a visit, although it might be a bit breezy tomorrow. So,
what do we think is causing that, guys? Anything unusual? I mean, food, sand eels? Is it?
There's been talk about some kind of algae bloom off Scotland, the northeast, and something possibly having a factor, but I've not seen anything definitive. I saw that birds were being checked for health, and there was no bird flu or anything like that found in certain ones, but. It's just odd, isn't it? You know, kind of you get these wrecks of birds usually in storms. We've got this big storm coming through. It's going to be interesting to see what that delivers up onto the, you know, in terms of live and dead for the wash and places like that that are exposed coasts. I hope it's not, you know, too bad.
I mean, there's been lots of auks. I mean, lots of razorbills off the Essex coast this winter, far more than there normally is. And I was up in Norfolk, and there were lots of dead guillemots. But they're all the ones I've seen, the alive guillemots and razorbills, have all been feeding. They've not a lack of food, I don't think. So, and I know some of the corpses have been sent away for analysis. So, yeah, hopefully in the not too distant future, we might find out what's going on.
Been two little auks in the River Thames, right up at Lower Hope, seen off Kent. I had a little auk, not a little auk. I had an auk species. It was a larger auk, but I couldn't identify it flying out the river on Tuesday. But then Paul Hawkins found and saw a little auk at East Tilbury just a week or two ago.
Okay. What else has been in your area, Steve?
Yeah, the white stork's still knocking around. So
yeah,
but that's pretty much. I mean, I say there's, you know, I'm just sort of covered Abberton, Mersey, Tolsbury, really.
Cool.
But I suspect this weather this weekend will push some stuff in.
Have a bearing.
Yeah, very much. What about you guys?
What about you, Stevie?
Well, I was just trying to find a picture that I put up on the WhatsApp group. Actually, I had a surprise the other day. My week's been absolute blur with work, but I want to say it was probably Wednesday, and I looked out this window that I'm looking at now in my study, and a huge great white bird with black wing edging flew over the East Tilbury white stork. Literally did a circular low over the houses here. I managed to snap a picture of that, so that was nice for a garden list, even though it's got a ring. As I put on Twitter, it's not as plastic as most people have herons in the garden next to the garden ponds. But we're going to talk about plastic birds, weren't we, kind of this escapee thing, but I don't know if we've got time tonight.
Yeah, I think it was just going to be a brief chat about what the phrase means, because I only came across it a short while ago. And
plastic.
Yeah, what does it mean, guys?
Well, I came across it when I identified a potential. Now, what was it? A curlew that was in a London park.
A glossy ibis.
I thought, well, it looks something like a glossy ibis, but it turned out to be a plastic bird, literally. But then I found out, as I say, that kind of escapee birds are generally called that nickname, that, aren't they, Steve?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. They're just all called plastic, you know, or fence jumpers, or you know, because they've jumped out of the cage somewhere.
I feel a bit sorry for them now, to be fair. What else down south, Steve S?
Hen Harry was about up until you guys scared it off when you came down. No, it was down for a few days later, but it hasn't been seen. Don't think it's been seen this week. Nick Lay and Paul Wood on Sunday morning had two female eiders flying up river. I believe they were females, and I think Jamie and Pete Warland had two exactly the same off the Blackwater the previous day, and they were asking what's the likelihood of them being the same days, same birds. Anybody got any thoughts on that?
I'm not sure. I saw the two eiders off Old Hall last week when I was taking a group round, and they were both young males.
Right. I might be wrong in saying they're females. I've got a very blurry shot of them, but I can find it. It's just literally silhouette. There we go. Let's see if I can share this. If this behaves itself. Let's get that portion of the screen. I don't want to share that bit. I'm going to share that. Right. Okay. Have you got that, guys?
Yeah.
They could well be the same birds. Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
They appear to have some white on.
Interesting, isn't it?
Males.
Wasn't the best shot, but you know, again, maybe Paul Wood or can help us out with that. But yeah, it's interesting. You know, kind of the navigation of birds as they come around the coast. And that some scoter was seen as well. But yeah, you know, just building up numbers of waders. It was good to see multiple thousands of dunlin on Tuesday when I was out. Probably about 1,000 avocet off the high tide roost at East Tilbury.
Okay.
But definitely, I would say kind of worth keeping your eyes open if you're on the coast for little auk and stuff, kind of with this storm coming in now.
I think Little Hawk's almost guaranteed, I think, this weekend.
Yeah, there's a short-eared albin kicking around. My wife saw that, but that was obviously when she wasn't with me, as usual. And, yeah, kind of.
Excellent.
Nick Lay has seen that a few times.
How about northeast Essex, Matt?
Yeah, so just some sort of general out and about stuff that I've been doing myself just the last couple of weeks. Got a handful of pictures, and then I've got a good report from Paul Brayshaw. So thanks again, Paul, for all your efforts, and just some other bits and bobs. So a couple of moments. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
So terrible picture because it's kind of 200% cropped, but that's the first brambling I've ever seen at Ardley, around the corner from me, and that took it up to 101 species for the year that I've seen there. So really pleased to see the brambling. And that was in with a flock of about 30 siskin, which is quite good. I did my Webb's count on the Stour at Catawade earlier in the month, and I know I should have been watching the wildfowl, but I couldn't resist taking a snap of this red kite that flew over. So always good to see the red kites, and they're still doing really well in the area, same as ravens. So look out for red kites and ravens, particularly on a nice sunny day, blue skies. You might get lucky. I know there's raven been seen today, I think, fairly locally. I managed to finally catch up with the white stork at Stanway. Tried 2 or 3 times. And this particular occasion, I was driving past on my way to work and already running a bit late. And I thought I might as well stop very quickly and have a look. And lo and behold, there it was, and it showed quite nicely. So bit of a drizzly day, but nice to see it, and got a couple of shots. And then obviously at Abberton, as Steve said, we've been having lots of good things there. Just a couple of the red-crested pochard came quite close the other day, looked nice in the sun. We had the Slavonian grebe at Hanningfield. So stopped off there and managed to get some half decent views of that. Really good little birds, very confiding. I think it's still around. I think it's still around today, isn't it, Steve?
Is that up by the causeway where the road goes through, Matt?
Yeah, it's kind of been, I think it's the west, sort of the north side of the causeway and the west end. And it's been doing a little circuit there. I actually bumped into Jan Lewis. Hi, Jan, if you're watching. And he was saying he'd been watching it, and it's been doing a circuit there. So it's kind of feeding in a particular area. And then very quickly, yesterday, popped to Abberton, and there's 3 Buick Swans there at the moment. So there's a couple of them. They were showing quite nicely, and obviously got the redneck grebe as well that eventually popped out from the reeds. As Steve said, it's been in that reed bed the last few days, which is nice. And finally, I managed to get a picture of a cattle egret on a cattle or a cow, which I was quite pleased with. But moving on to the reports. Paul Brayshaw, so he's done a summary for October, and he said basically the general westerly airflow led to a quiet month in terms of numbers, with 34,792 birds being logged in the month. Totals of key species were generally lower than in recent years, with only 6,978 goldfinch, 3,414 brents, 2,728 wood pigeon, and 2,256 starling. Amazingly, not a single goldcrest was observed. However, there was an excellent 99 jay and 163 brambling, and a reasonable passage of 548 siskins. Moving on to November, the most notable feature of the month so far is related to the presence of gannets offshore for an extended period of over 2 weeks, providing the unusual sight for northeast Essex at least of up to 75 gannets feeding and loafing birds close inshore daily. So they were regular for quite a period of time. There was obviously good feeding to be had as other birds offshore, often ranging between the Naze and Holland Haven, comprised at least 4 great northern divers, alongside the more usual red-throated, a redneck grebe there as well, 2 shags, guillemots, razorbills, little auk and puffin both seen as well. So lots of good stuff going past. Diurnal passage typically is for most species, but strong arrivals of blackbird, starling and chaffinch have been noted, as well as brambling continuing to feature strongly with over 90 so far. Siskins also coming through as well, and a few woodcock coming in. And he's had the first goldcrest of the autumn for him as well, which is nice. Offshore, sawbills, we have goldeneye, scorp, eider, as we've been saying, they've been going past, and skewers have also been absent, apart from 8 bonksies on the 12th. In addition, at the Naze, there's been a Siberian chiffchaff. There's been Lapland bunting seen at the Naze and Holland. 7 snow buntings on the naze on the 14th. I think Glenmore had those. Also at Holland Haven, 7 purple sandpipers, I think, at the moment, Steve.
Yes, and hopefully
you got your picture.
Yeah, it's right at the end. Sorry, I've got some shots I forgot to show these earlier. There's some I'm going to whip through to the end. There you go.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, lovely.
Beautiful. There's been a Dartford Warbler on and off at Holland. If you do pictures, Steve, while I'm yapping. There's been a late swallow on the 19th of November. And again, Eider's passing, tree sparrows, Lapland bunting as well. And finally, on the Stour, Nod, Brent and Blackwits are all coming in for the winter, along with a few red-breasted mergansers. And I think there's been a marsh chit in Copperus Woods on and off as well. So, yeah, all pretty good.
There's some good birds about, isn't there?
Definitely.
I think what we haven't said is, I think it was Andrew Cox reported some Hawfinch at the South Weald Country Park near Brentwood, I believe it was, or Thorndon Country Park, but well worth looking for them. I've seen them been reported coming into the country, and a couple of years back we had quite a big influx, brambling obviously.
Okay.
So good stuff.
A couple of things on YouTube. Richard Chew said at Raynham there's been Dartford Warbler, water pipit and cattle egrets regularly reported.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Mo Jackson said she's had a few woodcock this week at Sunnymead Farm. And as Matt was saying, and Daryl Rhymes has said there's lots of gannets off Essex feeding, not just migrating. So, and then John Buchanan's just messaged in to say that the Tolston Darcy Puffin has been happily feeding on sardines.
Good, that's good news. We heard it seemed to be kind of, so maybe kind of that'll be released at some point, and if that's publicised, that could be a popular bird to see.
I think we lost your camera, Steve.
Lost your camera, mate. Now,
have we?
Yep. You're.
I'll tell you what. While you're getting that back, we've had just a very small
Sorry, there we go.
Oh, there you are. You're back. We had a small selection of pictures sent in, so I've got some pictures which Jan Lewis sent in. It's got a couple of sanderling.
Oh, lovely.
He took those at the naze. So yeah, thanks for this.
Yeah, ringed bird there.
Oh, hang on, sorry. That's behind my camera again. I'm not sure. Can't see behind the camera.
It's got a ring on its right leg.
Yeah, a ring on the right leg on the right bird.
Okay, excellent. He was also, as I said, he was at Hanningfield as well and got pictures of the slab, including this one, which he said it's not the best picture he's ever taken, but we were discussing whether it was actually catching anything or not, because it kept on diving and coming up with nothing. And he thinks it might have been kind of catching small fish and eating them underwater.
Something there, yeah, it's got a small fish there by the looks.
He did bring one to the surface, so it's definitely feeding, so that's good news. And he had a snow bunting at Thorpe Bay as well.
Nice.
Which I still haven't had this year yet, so I've got to try and find a snow bunting. And a hooper swan at Hanningfield.
Very good.
Which is a good bird for Hanningfield.
Both migrating swans in the county, that's good.
Yeah, definitely. And we've also had a little video was sent in from Dave Dutton. So let me just see if I can run this as well. And this is, I haven't been down to see these yet, which might give you a clue as to what it is. Here we go.
Albatross.
No, thanks.
You asked for it.
Can we see this?
Yes.
Yeah. So what's about to come on from the left-hand side of the screen here then, guys?
Of course. Oh, I forgot about that. Red-breasted goose.
Oh, the red-breasted.
And these appear to be proper ones, I think, because they've come in with a flock of Brent geese. They're down in the sort of Deal Hall area, aren't they, I think?
Yeah, just near Burnham on Crouch. There's two red-breasted geese. And
there's 2 of them. I think he's got the capture here of one. I don't think the other one comes into shot. But yeah, really nice to see. And what a beautiful looking bird.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah,
really
lovely.
So,
amazing.
Thank you. That's really
Thank
good.
you for sending that in.
We've had a couple of messages on emails as well. I think, let's just have a look. Yeah, Chris Balchin. So apologies, haven't picked up on these before, Chris, but obviously we've been looking at the chat on the YouTube as well. But he's going back to the coot. He's saying surely coot will be safer in undergrowth. So he thinks that feeding seems more likely. So yeah, probably general consensus. I think the feeding is possibly a good shout. And Brent Geese, he said there seem to be very few juveniles at Combe Point at the moment, which is Chris's local area. Is that the same elsewhere? So do we know what the status is on the juvenile Brents at the moment?
I don't know. That was one for David Lowe. Maybe David can get back to us on that.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be putting out a report on the circulation, email circulation, as well as he usually does.
I've not seen many myself. What about you, Steve G? Have you seen many?
Yeah, I've not seen huge numbers, but I've seen like the odd family group. I mean, not like some years, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Dave Lowe can next program tell us what's going on.
He did say they thought it might be a poorer year, didn't he? Because the lemming.
Yeah. And final message from Chris via email in reference to Bird Fair. There's a discussion hosted by Urban Birder with Tim Appleton about events past and future on Tuesday, the 30th of November at 7 p.m. So I'm assuming that's on maybe on YouTube, I would guess. So it could be worth looking out. So Urban Birder is David Lindo, sorry.
David Lindo, yeah.
Oops, I'm off his Christmas card list. So yeah, if you Google that and Tim Appleton, there's obviously some kind of an online session where they're discussing Bird Fair. So it might be worth tuning in if you're interested in what's happening.
It might be on the Bird Fair website. I think they had a website.
Yeah, I think you have to register for the event to watch it.
Yeah, I'll send you the details.
Yeah,
right for that.
Bird of the month then.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say Puffin because it's quite a rare bird in Essex, but then those the two red-breasted geese turned up, so probably gazump that.
Yeah, that's two birds.
Oh, all right then. I don't know. I have no idea, to be fair.
What do you think, Steve?
Me?
Yeah.
Little Hawk down at East Tilbury for me, but I'm biased. That's bird of this patch.
I'd vote for the Puffin purely because it unfortunately expired 24 hours later, and I feel really sorry for it. So
Abberton, the fact he was at Abberton, the Abberton Puffin,
yeah,
it's stand out, isn't it? And it was enjoyed by a number before it's sad.
And also, I got to text Steve Brimway while he was having lunch as well. So that was. Should we do the photo results?
Photo competition, haven't we?
Yeah.
Have you done the maths?
I have. I've kind of done the maths. So just before I share the screen, again, thanks to everyone. Already said that, but it's been a really good competition. So I genuinely mean that, and some excellent entries as well. Just to clarify, we've been taking votes on the Twitter poll, but we've also been taking votes on Facebook and emails as well. We have put that on the messages on each platform and on our website, but so hopefully people have followed that. But if there's been any confusion, apologies, because obviously the Twitter results don't actually reflect necessarily the overall result, because with all the votes get added together, of course. So without further ado,
here we go.
We have, and bear in mind this is out of 70 photographs, so we have in fourth place with, if I can get my piece of paper, hold on, here we go. With 22% of the votes, there's actually kind of an equal fourth. And we've got the black-necked grebe from Colin Shields. That's the Hanningfield black-necked grebe.
It's a lovely action shot, isn't it? Lovely
I love that. I must confess, I probably shouldn't say this, that was kind of my personal favourite, because I just love the way it's kind of, its belly's on the water and its little legs are flapping behind it. I think that's a lovely little shot. And in equal third place, we have from Adrian Watts, if I can find it, there we go, the Osprey. And I think if it's the Adrian Watts that I think it is, this was taken on the Stour.
Yeah.
Yeah,
was
beautiful bird.
Adrian Watts, yeah.
And lovely. I think the exposure on this is superb. You know, to get the detail on the underwing with such a clear blue sky, done really, really well there. So well done. In second place, with 25% of the vote, we have from Hilary White. And this was taken at the Phyllis Curry Reserve, which I think is near Great Leys.
Yeah, yep.
Common buzzard. And
excellent.
I think this kind of got everyone's attention because, you know,
it's so sharp, that image. If you really zoom in, as we could obviously on the full image, I was amazed how sharp. Obviously, there's some branches and things like that blurred, but it's beautiful. And to get close enough for that,
don't forget, as you said, Steve, on Twitter and Facebook and so on, the images are actually compressed to get them online. So the proper image that we were sent is actually even clearer and sharper than that. And the light on it is beautiful. And yes, it's a common bird, but you don't often get to take a picture like that. So
you don't get that close to them.
Beautiful. And so that means in first place with 31% of the votes, so it was really, really close. But we have this lovely picture of the Mediterranean gull. I'm going to take a wild guess here and say it might be the one at Misley.
Is it Misley? I wanted to ask that, but it's still a great shot.
It's a beautiful shot.
Who took that, Matt?
That was taken by Liz Huxley.
Well done, Liz.
Well done, Liz. Yeah, and
but the way she's got it against the light background and the light on that. And
I think for me, the eyes are absolutely sharp in focus, and brilliant. You know the bill is lovely and blurred, and it's beautiful, and it's looking directly. You couldn't position it any better, could you?
I can only think she must have balanced a chip on her nose to get it to look that straight at her.
Well, you say that actually. Mark Nowers from the RSPB, he tweeted the other day that he was almost hand feeding the bird. So it's a very obliging little bird. He's beautiful bird.
That's
so you're well done, Liz. And
well
Liz
done.
is going to receive a framed copy of her photograph.
Excellent.
And a certificate. And we'll get that done and out to you as soon as we can. You'll get it certainly before Christmas, and we'll do it as quickly as we can. So thanks everyone.
Thank you everybody for getting involved in that. All been well. Hope to have another one coming up in the future. Yeah, can there be more news on that? But regarding our future, we've got to tell you the 17th is the date of the next Birds of Essex. And as I said, we've got John Buchanan coming on there talking about Malden and that area and birding there. Also, it's going to be a bit of a Christmas special. And so we've got something we'd like for you to do. We want you to send in photographs of you on your patch or in your patch with a Christmas sweater or something, Christmas hat or some Christmassy thing. And you can even put a reindeer mask on if you don't want us to see who you are, you know, the associate name. But yeah, just do that. And there'll be a prize for the one that we think is the most entertaining. And whether we put it out for everybody to vote, and I don't know, we'll figure a way, Matt will figure a way. But yeah, send in that. There's going to be a prize for that because it's Christmas.
Can Steve G reveal what the prize is to encourage people?
I don't know what the prize is.
Oh, I thought we discussed that. Was it not?
No.
Oh.
I don't think that was decided.
That's to be confirmed then. That's to be confirmed. Watch the website.
Steve had to talk to Annette to see whether he could put a tenner in or he had to stick to his fiver.
Watch the website. We'll get that on the website as soon as we can. And
then we've still got to talk to Jerry, haven't we? You know,
it's going to be a good prize. It's going to be a good prize, whatever it is.
The Christmas Jerry.
And also, guys, don't forget that our next indoor meeting, which is next Friday the 3rd of December, in the Friends Meeting House in Chelmsford, very close to the station, so reasonably accessed for public transport. And it's the Birds and Wildlife of Guyana by Chris Collins. So really good. There's some great wildlife in Guyana. So, you know, harpy eagles, that's going to be worth seeing. So that's our next evening meeting.
And then we're going to be there, aren't we, Steve, you and I?
You and I are going to go. So, yeah, so hopefully we'll see lots of other people there. So come along. Should be a great evening. Meet
up in person. I think it's a couple of quid on the door or something like that. You get, I don't know whether they're doing coffee and tea now, but they used to. So
not at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's safe, isn't it? Kind of people observe a social distance. You wear a mask if you want, but if you are able to get along, I'm sure the society members there and the committee and Sue, who runs the indoor meetings, will really appreciate you being there.
Absolutely. And then our next outdoor field trip is again drive yourself one to Bowers Marsh in South Essex, and that's on Sunday the 19th of December. So that's been really good birding at the moment. And they had their second ever record of grey partridge a couple of weeks ago, which is a good bird, and they've had lots of gulls. It's great. It's just a great spot in South Essex.
Maybe everybody ought to come in their Christmas sweater there and take pictures of each other.
Maybe get a group Christmas photo.
You might have yours through by then.
Excellent.
Just got a couple of quick messages to finish with on the chat. Paul Everett said red-breasted geese are about 5.25 miles from Burnham, about half a mile past Holywell Point. So if anyone wants to go and have a look at those, it sounds like a bit of a walk, but I'm sure it's well worth it. Martin and Paul have both given congratulations to Liz for the picture. So yeah, well done, Liz, again.
Thank you.
And Pete Dwyer says it's £3 for members to get into the indoor meeting and £4 for non-members. So
There you go.
it's well worth it. It's always good fun.
Bargain at half the price.
Fantastic.
Go
Well,
for it, yeah.
The time it's flown by again.
It's gone. It's been good, hasn't it?
Oh, wow.
So
Thanks,
we're going
guys.
I think we've kind of managed to cover everything. So we're going to end, all being well, with everybody's photographs for you to enjoy. And John's details regarding the book will be there at the end as well. So if you want to snap a picture of that or write it down quick, if you want to kind of get hold of that book, I'm sure that'll be a great read and something of help for you in your birding.
Excellent. So yeah, thanks everyone. And yeah, the slideshow, this is basically every single photograph that we had submitted to the competition. So you can see what a great selection there was and how hard it was for us to make a choice. Right, take care.
Good.
Bye everyone.
Bye, bye. See you again. See you on the 17th.
Yeah, brilliant. Good birding.
Happy Christmas.
Everyone.